Discovered. When my grandson turned 5, a single call revealed an amazing unexpected journey. The exhilaration of Ryan's 5th birthday filled the air, laughter echoing around the room as balloons bobbed lazily along the ceiling. Jack Reynolds, 65, watched his grandson swing wildly at a bright piñata, a lightness in his heart that he hadn't felt in years. Life had settled into a comfortable rhythm since his wife passed, a gentle routine steeped in the vibrant energy of a child. Yet, just as Ryan's jubilant squeals pierced the chatter, the shrill ring of the telephone pierced the atmosphere, jolting Jack back into a reality he thought he'd long escaped. He answered, puzzled. The voice on the other end was grave and formal, introducing itself as a lawyer. Jack leaned against the kitchen counter, feeling the room spin slightly as the words spilled out that his late father, once an esteemed architect, had left behind a property. A dilapidated piece of history, a forgotten monument swallowed by time and burdens of the past. The weight of emotion crashed over him, nostalgia slipping in, whispering stories tangled in the fabric of family history, the struggles, the dreams, and the years that swept it all under the rug of despair. Jack's grip on the phone tightened as the details unfolded, memories flooding his mind. Thoughts of his father's ambitious designs, creations that once filled him with pride, evoked an ache in his heart. Why now? He wondered. Could he really stand in the shadow of what had once been, confronting a legacy buried under the rubble of broken dreams? To return to the flurry of his father's expectations felt daunting. Did he even have what it takes to face what lingered there, to take a leap toward the unknown? Before he could settle into his thoughts, he caught a glimpse of Ryan, eyes sparkling with cake and excitement. How could he explain the weight of this burden, the anxiety creeping in like a thief in the night? Would reclaiming the past distract from raising Ryan, leading him down a road filled with the remnants of ashy memories and shame? The scornful whispers of neighbors flooded back, mocking his father's decline, painting him as just another man clinging uselessly to dreams long forgotten. Who would hold the torch to a crumbling foundation soaked in stigma? Jack hesitated, unease wrapping around him like a shroud. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Determination wrestled against self-doubt, as Jack stood teetering on the precipice of a decision that could reshape their lives. Each question clawed at him. Could he afford the time and effort, the emotional toll it could take? What damage might he do to the innocent world Ryan basked in? His heartbeat quickened, fingers twitching, lost in darker thoughts, wondering if he was brave enough to honor this legacy. Sifting through fragments of his father's past held the promise of revelation, but at what cost? As the memories profoundly intertwined with the present, Jack felt the weight of history bearing down on him, fiercely demanding acknowledgement. Suddenly, Ryan tugged at his sleeve, layers of simple curiosity sparking mischief in the young boy's eyes. "Grandpa, what is that?" he asked, pointing toward a shadowy corner of the vast, forgotten property. Jack's breath caught in his throat, heart racing again, not just from disbelief, but an overwhelming sense of the unknown calling him forth. What lay ahead was not just a dilapidated house. It was a journey filled with shadows, dreams, and perhaps the salvation of their family's history. And just like that, Jack's resolve began to crack, a portal opening into a future he never anticipated. Jack gazed at Ryan, who was bouncing on his toes with infectious energy, oblivious to the gravity of the situation. In that moment, both fear and responsibility wrestled within him, battling for dominance. The past tugged at him while the present, vibrant and full of promise, stood defiantly. He turned to the sunlit backyard, where laughter danced amid the chaos of festivities. Could he truly allow this new revelation to linger in shadow, concealing what could be a fundamental aspect of their lives? "Grandpa?" Ryan's voice cut through Jack's swirling thoughts, refreshingly innocent, beckoning him away from the darkness. The child knew nothing of family legacy, only the love radiating around him. Jack knelt down, forcing a smile to mask his turmoil. "It's just an old house, buddy," he reassured, but even in his mind the term just felt hollow. Returning indoors, Jack pulled out a faded notebook cluttered with design sketches and scribbled notes belonging to his father. His heart began to race again, a thrill and dread intertwining. What if there was potential within that decaying structure? Perhaps it held not just memories, but an opportunity to breathe life back into both the house and his relationship with Ryan. The visions from childhood resurfaced his father's animated gestures, while describing architectural dreams with boundless enthusiasm. Time to make it real, Jack muttered under his breath as a thought began ticking insistently. An electrical surge coursed through him as he envisioned not merely restoring his father's forgotten masterpiece, but creating a new legacy for Ryan. Could the spirit of his father lie within these walls, waiting for redemption? He pondered whether finishing what his father had started could mend the fissures that time had caused within their family. Yet doubt loomed large, ready to pounce on any flicker of ambition. Later that evening, as darkness settled in, Jack could feel the weight of the decision pressing down heavier than he anticipated. It wasn't merely about the house, it represented his relationship with the lineage that had left him behind. Could he bring the dreams of past generations to life while also nurturing Ryan's youthful innocence? He needed to reflect. Solitude turned into an exercise in clarity. He picked up a sketch from the notebook. Lines formed elegant arches, expansive spaces filled with potential. Jack's breath quickened. He had always found solace in creation. What if he channeled that passion into revitalizing the property? It could offer reverberations of hope not solely for him, but for Ryan, who was fast discovering the world. Ideas began to take shape in his mind: workshops, playful spaces to explore creativity, possibly even mentorship for youth. His heart began to race with newfound determination, but still, a fear lingered. How would he fund such an endeavor? Jack closed the notebook, wrestling with a brewing storm inside him, contesting demons of financial anxiety and lingering self-doubt. He knew he had to confront these feelings head-on. This journey to reclaim his father's legacy wouldn't just be architecture. It would be about self-discovery and growth, a defining moment in both his life and in Ryan's. The foundation began shaking beneath a fragile surface, an inner call to action ignited. Suddenly Jack felt ready to process this labyrinth of emotion, daring to embrace the uncertainties ahead. But as he set his sights on the crumbling structure, a chilling realization washed over him. He would need allies, including support from Ryan, if they were to navigate this challenge together. The stakes had risen. His thoughts simmered as he pondered how to encompass Ryan in this evolving tale, when suddenly, an unexpected thought spiraled into view. Would his own fears and regrets haunt him, impacting their shared journey? As he pinched the bridge of his nose, grappling between dreams and realities, one question emerged, electrifying the air. Was he ready to face the dormant legacy and the shadows that harbored the truth? The following day, Jack's determination solidified into a plan. He pored over his father's notebook, feeling the texture of the pages under his fingers, the weight of dreams held captive by time. Each sketch was a whisper from the past, inviting him to explore family roots and rekindle connections. Lines transformed into blueprints of possibility in his mind. He was no longer just an architect but a bridge between generations. He knew his first step was to bring Ryan along for this journey, but how? The prospect of discussing the house felt daunting. He decided to frame it as an adventure, rather than a burden. The notion of combining their imaginative worlds as they explored something so deeply personal excited him. "Ryan," Jack called out, hoping to catch the boy's attention amidst the chaos of toys scattered across the living room floor. The child bounded in, wide-eyed, ready for a surprise. Jack knelt down, folding his arms around his knees. "Remember that old house we talked about?" Ryan's face brightened. "The one with the green door and big window?" "Yes. How would you feel about visiting it together?" Jack's heart raced as he posed the question, unsure how Ryan would respond. The moment felt monumental, a tipping point in their lives, where the past and future coalesced. "Can we bring paint and brushes? Maybe we can make it pretty." Ryan's enthusiasm surged like a summer breeze, lifting Jack's spirits. "Yes, we can bring whatever we want. Think of it as our secret project," Jack replied, feeling a flicker of excitement as well. This was their chance for bonding, a way to create something meaningful together. The next morning they set off. As they approached the weathered house, Jack took a deep breath. It loomed ahead, a giant of memories cloaked in neglect. What had once been a source of laughter echoed now with silence. Ryan held his hand tightly, and Jack could sense both childlike anticipation and the weight of generational expectation resting upon his shoulders. Stepping inside, the musty air wrapped around them like a blanket, thick with the scent of memories. Dust motes danced in the sunbeams cutting through the grimy windows. Jack's heart pounded. The old structure had lost its luster but still stood defiantly. He could almost hear his father's voice echoing through the corridors, igniting a wave of emotion that was both comforting and jarring. "Look, Grandpa!" Ryan exclaimed, pointing at a wall where faded drawings still clung to the plaster. Jack knelt down beside him, brushing his fingers over the marks, and suddenly felt each sketch pulsing with untold stories. "Those were made by kids just like you," Jack began, inspired by the moment. "Can you imagine what it would be like to make this place a home for creativity again?" Ryan's eyes sparkled. "We could have art parties." Something shifted in Jack's chest. The idea began to spiral and take form. If they could create a space for imaginative exploration, it wouldn't just be restoration, it would be a mission, intertwined with their shared legacy. A way to honor his father while propelling Ryan into his own creative journey. Yet, beneath this burgeoning excitement lay the shadow of doubt. How would he navigate the logistics, financial burdens, planning, uncertainty? The internal tug-of-war returned with a vengeance. Jack stood at the threshold of inspiration and intimidation, pondering fiercely if he could truly transform this derelict house into a vibrant hub. As the afternoon sun dipped lower, casting long shadows, Jack felt an undeniable resolve shifting within him. But just as he began sketching new ideas on a scrap of paper, a notification on his phone jolted him from the moment. He glanced down, a chill sweeping through him as the familiar name filled the screen. His heart raced. He hadn't expected this. Would this call challenge his aspirations or blow open new doors? As Ryan crouched, envisioning their fantastical future, Jack steeled himself for whatever awaited him on the other end of the line, recognizing this was not just about restoring a house but confronting the very fabric of his identity. The future was suddenly perilous yet exhilarating, a precipice of change looming ahead like the old house before him. Would he have the courage to embrace whatever revelations lay ahead? Jack hesitated for a moment, his finger hovering over the phone's screen. The name staring back at him triggered a cacophony of emotions. It was Michael, an old colleague from his previous firm, someone he hadn't spoken to in years. What could this be about? His mind began racing through possibilities: an old project, perhaps a request for help, or something else entirely. "Dad, are we going to paint now?" Ryan's voice broke through Jack's torrent of thoughts. The boy, oblivious to the intense weight that bore down on Jack's shoulders, tugged at his sleeve, his eyes wide with anticipation. "Yes." "Just a second," Jack replied, redirecting his focus to Ryan, who was already collecting bits of art supplies they had brought along in a bright backpack. The boy's innocent enthusiasm contrasted sharply with Jack's inner turmoil, stirring a sense of urgency in him. He stared at the phone for a split second longer before deciding to answer. "Hello, Michael." "Jack. I've been trying to reach you for days. I hope this isn't a bad time." Michael's voice flowed through the receiver with an unexpected brightness. "No, not at all. Just out exploring some personal projects," Jack replied, trying to keep his tone light while wrestling with the weight of his reality. "Oh, like that old house? The green door and big window?" Michael teased, his playful tone serving as a reminder of their once close friendship. "Yeah, something like that," Jack said, mustering a chuckle, but the jesting felt hollow. "Good to hear. Listen, I have an opportunity one think you'd be perfect for. We're on the brink of a big project involving community redevelopment." Jack's pulse quickened in apprehension at the mention of the word community. Life had taught him the price of becoming entwined with collaborative efforts, the riskiest dance of shared ideals where one could lose themselves. "Sorry, Mike, I don't know if I'm looking to get back into that," Jack interrupted, his defenses rising. He had believed he could carve out his own path, especially with Ryan now in the picture. His son's future depended on decisions that were rooted deeply in creativity, not collective ambitions. "Wait. Just hear me out," Michael urged, realizing Jack's hesitation. "This project has a different vibe. We're focusing on creating spaces that allow artists and families to thrive. You could lead the design initiative." Jack's breath caught in his throat. The prospect shimmered with promise yet bore the heavy weight of his fears. Would he sacrifice the sacred vision he had begun to nurture with Ryan? The notion of working under the umbrella of a corporation while searching for personal affirmation felt like a double-edged sword. He could envision his father's legacy fading beneath the chaos of corporate demands. Ryan's eager tug at his sleeve interrupted the spiraling doubts. "Can we paint now, Dad?" "Yeah, let me just," Jack stammered. He felt paralyzed, caught between nurturing his son's creativity and the allure of a professional rebound that could bolster his confidence. "Jack? Are you still there?" Michael's voice broke through again, but the noise surrounding Jack began to fade. He looked out at the house, the fading sun illuminating dusty remnants and potential. It held within it the whispers of history, dreams teetering on the brink of revival. "Listen, Michael, I appreciate the call, but I need to think about it," Jack finally said, internally wrestling with whether he was letting an incredible opportunity slip through his fingers or rising to meet his own aspirations. "Of course, but don't wait too long. You could really make an impact," Michael added before ending the call, leaving Jack staring at the phone, the gravity of the decision hanging heavy in the air. He turned to Ryan, who was dipping his brush enthusiastically in paint, unaware of the complexity of the moment. Yet Jack realized that opportunity was stirring just as much within him. As they began to paint over the faded marks of the past, transforming neglect into bursts of color, Jack felt a surge of determination swell inside. Perhaps this journey was the very nexus between personal salvation and professional rebirth. But as each stroke of the brush brought him closer to clarity, a small voice lingered in the back of his mind. Would pursuing a collaborative project prove to be a distraction or a bridge back to his long-lost identity? He took a deep breath, looking squarely at Ryan. The boy was lost in his own creative world, a realm Jack knew he needed to cultivate. The question was no longer if he could honor his father's dreams, but whether he could balance them with the ongoing emergence of his own aspirations. The sun dipped deeper, casting shadows that danced alongside Jack's contemplative thoughts. Just as clarity began to surface, a notification pinged from his phone once again, threatening to upend his resolve. Would this new message spark another wave of uncertainty? Or could it serve as the echo of his father's dreams coming alive? Jack inhaled deeply, the phone vibrating lightly in his palm. He glanced quickly at the screen. It was a message from Michael, a friendly reminder that time was not on his side. As Ryan flitted about, spreading brilliant strokes of color across the canvas, Jack felt the pulse of opportunity against his skin. The dichotomy between his current life as a father and the call of the professional world pressed in on him, fogging his vision. "Dad, look at mine." Ryan's voice pulled him back, vibrant and jubilant. He had crafted a bright sun, its rays shooting out in all directions, full of enthusiasm and hope. How simple it seemed for his son to create. The ease with which Ryan allowed his imagination to flow into dictated shapes reminded Jack of his earlier self, bold and unafraid, before life's complexities coiled around him. Glancing at Ryan's son, a flicker of inspiration ignited within him. If he were to take on Michael's project, what kind of space could he create? A sanctuary where children like Ryan could paint freely, where they could stretch their imaginations without the weight of expectation pressing down on them. Could he meld his passion for design with the fundamental values of nurturing creativity in his son and others? "Okay, buddy, what do you think we should paint next?" Jack asked, kneeling beside him. His energy began to shift, the ease of being in the moment seeping into him. Ryan tilted his head, contemplating. "Maybe a house. A big one like yours," he suggested, pointing towards the dilapidated house they'd been working on. The idea blossomed into Jack's mind like a flower unfurling petals to the sun, a house that encapsulated art and the playful spirit Ryan embodied. "Yeah, a house it is," Jack exclaimed. They both began marking out plans for what this home could embody. Old bricks could be transformed into a mosaic of colors, a vibrant reminder of past dreams blended with newfound visions. But as the idea began to crystallize, self-doubt crept back in. Jack's thoughts turned inward with a relentless sharpness. Would he be able to capture that vision for everyone involved in the redevelopment project? Could he truly lead such a venture without losing himself again? Perhaps this was merely another moment to distract himself from looking inward. Just then Ryan's excited grin drew him back. "You're my best painting buddy, Dad." Ryan said, slapping a splash of blue paint on the canvas. It sent droplets flying, a metaphorical explosion of joy. In that instant Jack felt renewed purpose. "Let us keep this going," he affirmed, now feverishly helping Ryan without the weight of uncertainty dragging at him. They painted rambunctiously together, breathing life not just into colors on canvas, but surging life into Jack's aspirations. It wasn't simply about a project or a job. This was about revitalization, rekindling dreams, and an intimate connection with his son. As shadows lengthened around them, he felt a burgeoning connection to both the house and the potential project looming in the back of his mind. His internal dialogue sputtered between casting himself back into the world of corporate design and forging an earnest path that intertwined with creativity. The last brushstroke signified a moment. It was clear he was at a crossroads. Would he step back into the world that had once consumed him? Or could he integrate the lessons learned from his time spent with Ryan into a new role? Slowly he reached for his phone, deliberating. Just as he was about to click on Michael's message, Ryan glanced up. "Are we really going to make a house like that someday?" Jack swallowed down an answer, recognizing the weight of expectation wrapped in his son's innocent inquiry. "Yes, kiddo. I think we might," he said, the words feeling solid on his tongue. His phone pinged again, a new message from Michael, an uninvited reminder that decisions awaited him. The echoes of the past met the vibrant palette of expectations laid before him. The contrast gripped him firmly, like a knot tightening within his chest. With time fleeting, he had to decide not just what type of project to embrace, but also who he wanted to be, both for Ryan and himself. The work was more than design. It was life-shaping art through collaboration, risking vulnerability, and embracing the unknown. And at that moment, as the warmth of the sun dipped below the horizon, Jack ventured to press send, ready to confront the prospect of reimagining not just a building, but his entire future. What awaited him on the other side? The moment his finger hovered over the screen, Jack felt the gravity of his choice sink deeper. Moments with Ryan had sparked a realization that transcended paint and canvas, awakening something dormant within him. He could either retreat into the safety of familiar routines, or he could embrace the uncertainty that had encircled him like a thick fog. Pressing send to Michael's message felt perilous, an admission that he was ready to engage with the possibility of failure and the excitement of revitalization. In the days to come, Jack hardly worked on the house itself. Instead, he occupied himself with drafting plans for the community space. Each layout was layered with his aspirations for creativity free from judgment, a project built upon the playful design philosophy he admired in Ryan. Late one night, after Ryan was asleep, Jack sat at the kitchen table hunched over sketches. He pored over concepts, pen in hand, when an uninvited whisper of doubt pierced through his enthusiasm. Could he really marry architectural functionality with artistic expression? The more he pushed himself to create something beautiful and imaginative, the more questions crept in. Was this just a grand dream? Could he achieve the financial backing needed to bring it to life? Especially with Michael's looming deadline? The previous balance of corporate reliability and personal risk became more precarious. That familiar burgeoning anxiety twisted again into the knot in his gut. Despite this, he sought to silence the inner critic. Not an easy feat. A storm of ideas swirled in his mind alongside fears. But he pressed on, knowing the breakthrough could lie just beneath the surface layer of apprehension. With determination, he let the pen glide freely, visualizing Ryan's son alongside the magnificent canvas that would become his space. Days turned into weeks, and coiled doubt morphed into something tangible. Ideas sprouted like the wildflowers he'd seen weaving through cracks in the sidewalk. He began assembling a proposal booklet, adorned with vibrant sketches, notes of inspiration from Ryan's artwork, and a mission statement that propelled the creative vision forward. Each page was infused with Ryan's laughter as he recalled their painting sessions. Jack studied each meticulously crafted piece while his heart raced with equal parts fear and exhilaration. It was more than submitting a project. It was the convergence of fatherhood and identity, a tangible manifestation of his encroaching ambitions. But independence brought isolation. Conversations with colleagues became strained, filled with hidden envy masked as concern. They questioned his shift in focus, and smiles that had once felt warm now chilled him. Every judgment echoed Jack's own insecurities. Was he truly capable of nurturing this ambition, or merely chasing whimsy? One evening as he lay in bed, the weight of his relationship with Ryan came crashing in. He had seen Ryan flourish, unencumbered by the voices of doubt surrounding them. In stark contrast, Jack felt every critique drown him a little further. The next day, however, he made a commitment to himself. He would be honest. He would share his aspirations, his fears, and bundle them into a narrative not only to drive himself forward, but to inspire those around him, including Ryan. Confronting Michael, who had been a solid anchor through turbulent times, felt like an impending judgment day. What if he didn't see the worth in Jack's vision? What if he deemed it foolish? As Jack prepared for their meeting, a sense of empowerment emanated from crafting his proposal. It was not merely a document, but evidence of his personal evolution. He practiced the words he might say, the passion coursing through him like the blue paint that decorated their original canvas. His heart thumped with the determination to share everything: his vision, his challenges, and the growth he envisioned through the project. Stepping into the conference room, Jack inhaled a mix of anticipation and uncertainty. He was ready to pitch the spirit of creativity he'd witnessed in his son, feeling rooted in purpose rather than plagued by doubt. The moment had finally come. As he laid out his ideas, Jack caught a flicker of something in Michael's eyes, a hint of interest or skepticism. It was impossible to tell. The gravity of this moment pressed in as questions loomed. Would Michael support him? Or was Jack prepared to face rejection? He took a breath, and as he did, the exhilarating possibility of transformation loomed over him in that room. The outcome could lead him further down a path he had only just discovered, one that blended personal fulfillment with professional ambition. And just as he finished his final point, he sensed the air shift like the approach of a summer storm. The tension was palpable. Jack, let us talk about what you've proposed. As the words hung in the air, Jack felt the weight of the moment crash down around him. Michael's expression was inscrutable yet electric with a tang of curiosity. Jack's heart raced, unsure if he would feel the validation he craved or the cold sting of dismissal. Your proposal is ambitious, Michael began, his tone measured and deliberate. But let us unpack your vision a bit further. What do you believe makes this space truly unique? Jack's mind raced, grappling with a deep-seated desire to project confidence, while fearing that he was teetering on the brink of audacity. He straightened his posture, inhaling deeply. It's about freedom, the freedom to create without fear of ridicule. I envision a space where art transcends conventional boundaries, marrying functionality with playfulness. It's not just a project, it's a community experience. Michael nodded slowly but did not interject. Encouraged by the engagement, Jack pressed on, fueled by an urgency to convey the essence of his concept. Imagine children painting as they learn about architecture. Adult workshops integrating art with entrepreneurship. This is where creativity isn't just showcased but fostered, a nurturing ground. I want to cultivate an environment echoing positivity and growth. The slight furrow in Michael's brow deepened, prompting a shot of anxiety through Jack. But what about cost? Michael asked, directing a practical glare into the discussion. Do you have preliminary estimates? Jack felt himself retreat again, the familiar concerns swirling. However, this time the fear was laced with determination. I've compiled a list of potential sponsors' partnerships. The proposal includes a basic financial outline and projections. Good to see you thinking pragmatically, Michael replied, his tone softening slightly. Such insights are crucial. But you're diving into uncertain waters here. Any venture that intertwines art and community service is challenging to pitch to stakeholders who prioritize ROI above all else. Jack leaned in, thoughts racing faster than he could articulate. The conflict within him churned. This was not merely a business proposal but rather an existential pivot in his life. The self-doubt that so often paralyzed him began to weaken in the presence of clarity. If we aim only for profitability, we're stifling inspiration. I really believe believing is one thing, Jack, Michael interrupted, now raising an eyebrow with a flicker of concern. Execution is another. You must keep your eyes open to the system's realities. The criticism landed heavily, but rather than retreating into despair, Jack chose to lean into it. I understand, but if we don't attempt to foster change, to push boundaries, won't we be failing in our own duty as creators? I see the world differently now, and I want to invite others to share that vision. Silence enveloped the conference room, thick with unsaid words. Michael's expression was guarded, and Jack feared he was battling his own illusions. But the quiet gave rise to a flickering light of resolve within him. He would not back down. This was more than professional ambition, it was a reckoning of his values as a creator and a father. Jack, take your time, Michael finally said, his voice steady. I'm likely to back you, but you must be prepared to defend your vision and navigate this landscape carefully. Before we proceed, I need to see you master the financial side of things. That includes contingencies and projected community interest metrics. Nodding, Jack felt the urge to outline a plan start brewing within him. Ideas were congealing into form, each one sharper than the last. Thank you, Michael, he replied with renewed certainty. I'll refine the proposal and prepare a detailed follow-up. As he walked out, the thrumming in his chest settled slightly, but he knew he was only beginning to scratch the surface of this challenge. With each step, clarity cascaded into vision. He was not merely defending a creative urge, but embarking on a mission to redefine what space meant within the community, particularly for his son. That evening, Jack sat with Ryan at their dining table covered in scattered paint and sketches. As Ryan excitedly recounted his latest creation, Jack smiled, imbued with purpose. There was a spark there, a connection that seemed deeper and richer than before. Yet, just as he began to articulate his vision to Ryan, the doorbell rang, jolting him from the moment. An unexpected visitor stood on the doorstep, his estranged brother, Matt. It had been years since they spoke, and the weight of their fractured relationship pressed in on him immediately. Jack, Matt said, his eyes serious, we need to talk. Suddenly, the vibrant energy of the evening hung in the balance, and Jack felt the world shift in a heartbeat. What lay ahead could unravel his hopes or weave them into something unforeseen. The tension in the air was palpable as Jack caught Matt's gaze, recognizing the fissures of their past reflected in the seriousness of his brother's demeanor. Years of silence rushed through his mind, each memory a jagged reminder of disagreements, misunderstandings, and resentment. The weight of history pressed uncomfortably on his shoulders. Is this about Mom? Jack asked tentatively, feeling his heart race. The thought of their mother, fragile and fading, brought forth waves of anxiety. No, Matt replied, shaking his head as he stepped inside, the door clicking shut behind him like a judgment. It's about us, about what's been going on in our lives since we last spoke. Jack felt an electric mix of frustration and curiosity swirl within him. Their last encounter had been volcanic, leaving behind a barren landscape of mistrust. This was the brother he had once shared dreams and childhood laughter with, now a stranger standing across from him. What's so urgent now? After years? Matt took a moment, his lips pressed into a thin line. I've come to understand things differently, he began, and Jack fought the impulse to roll his eyes. Was this another attempt to rewrite their narrative? I know it's late, but I need you to hear me out. As Jack gestured for him to take a seat, his thoughts drifted back to his creative vision, the proposal swirling like a beacon of hope amidst the shadow of their rocky relationship. This was the change he'd envisaged in his life, the new beginnings. However, the current moment was steeped in the old fears, ripping at the new foundation he intended to build. With Ryan still buzzing around the dining table, completely oblivious to the familial tension unraveling, Jack struggled to maintain his focus. He couldn't afford this distraction, not when he was finally on the cusp of something transformative. Yet here he was, grappling with a fragile bond that had the potential to either fracture his resolve or catapult him further into personal discovery. It's about Dad, Matt stated bluntly, cutting through Jack's mental clutter. The mention of their father stung like a recent bruise. Memories flooded back, swirling with confusion and bitterness. Jack had thought he made peace with his father's shortcomings, but felt the weight of unresolved emotions tighten around his heart. Why bring him up now? Jack's voice betrayed a hint of the old anger. He made his choices. What's this got to do with us? Matt's shoulders drooped slightly, grief flickering in his eyes. Because there's something you need to know. Something he left behind. Something that could change everything for both of us. The words hung there, dense and laden with possibility. Curiosity gnawed at Jack's determination, mixing with the apprehension that had persisted through their contentious past. What are you talking about? He asked, searching for clarity amid the tumult of emotions. It's complicated, Matt replied, clearly struggling, but it relates to family and legacy. I think it's important you understand. As Matt continued, Jack felt tentative hope begin to grow within him, intertwined with an intense desire to unearth what this revelation could mean. But this was a challenging intersection. His vision for the future, against the backdrop of familial entanglements and old grievances. A new layer of complexity pulled at him. Could admitting to their shared past, accepting their father's choices, serve as a catalyst for reconciliation rather than a barrier? The idea stirred a quiet determination to confront not only the truth of his father's legacy, but also the potential of what a repaired relationship with Matt could bring to his unfolding journey. As Jack squared his shoulders, preparing to navigate this new terrain, he felt something shift within, a readiness to embrace the complexity and embrace what lay ahead. Okay, let us talk, he said, meeting Matt's gaze with unexpected resolve. But understand this. I won't shy away from the past. Whatever it is, let us lay it all out. Matt nodded, wary but relieved, and for the first time in years Jack sensed a crack in the thick walls they had both built. Now, faced with the dual challenges of familial reconciliation and personal ambition, Jack felt the once clear path ahead blur into a labyrinth of possibilities. And as the evening creeped on, he couldn't shake the feeling that the next step could lead him to revelations beyond anything he previously imagined. Could this be the vital turning point, the unforeseen journey that awaited him? As he leaned in closer to hear Matt's story, anxiety and anticipation coursed through him, setting up a significant pivot in his life. Jack felt the weight in the air shift as he prepared himself to delve deeper into the well of their family's past. He had chosen the path of confrontation, an unpredictable avenue surely, yet he sensed it might lead him to not only an understanding of Matt but also a clearer picture of himself. Taking a deep breath, Jack leaned forward slightly, his heart racing in tandem with his thoughts. All right, start from the beginning, he urged, his voice steadier than he felt. The moment stood like a fracture point in time. Their relationship hung precariously on Jack's willingness to move forward from years of resentment. Matt swallowed hard, the intensity of Jack's request hanging between them. When Dad passed away, I didn't just lose him. I lost the chance to understand him as a man, not just as my father. His voice shook a little, and Jack sensed a vulnerability in his brother that opened a door to a world of empathy. After all this time, I found some old letters. They were addressed to you, written in the months before he died. Letters. The idea struck a chord. Jack had often wished for more explanation from their father, guilty at times for wanting to mend a bond that had splintered long ago. What did they say? He pressed, despite the glimmer of fear that scratched at him. They reveal parts of his life and choices, Matt continued, swallowing back emotion. I think he hoped you would find them, understand him. He was afraid of how much he had failed us both. Jack felt a lump rise in his throat. That fear echoed in his own life, a fear of failure, resonating with his artistic ambitions. If their father had been burdened with the weight of his own dilemmas, did that create room for forgiveness or action now? He pondered this, searching intently through the fissures of their past for ways to navigate the present. Matt's brows furrowed as he pressed on. There's more to it, Jack. He wrote about legacy, not just his belongings, but who he wanted to be remembered as. He didn't provide much direction to us but wished we could move beyond our anger. He felt trapped by his own mistakes. Jack processed the words, feelings of resentment swirling with something deeper, more poignant. Was this the revelation he needed to plant the seeds of healing between him and his brother? Did you ever read them? He asked, a new intensity budding within him. Urgency took hold. There was so much at stake, potentially more than he ever imagined in this moment of reckoning. Matt's nod was almost imperceptible. I did. And now, I think they could help us carve a new path. If we understand where he was coming from, he trailed off, uncertainty creeping back. It might change everything between us. A shiver ran down Jack's spine. An awareness that this could be the turning point toward not just reconciliation with Matt, but also toward personal clarity. The letters could offer him insights and understandings he craved for his own journey, merging unresolved issues with paths untraveled. I want to read them, he declared firmly. If it might help us, I'll face this. Matt's gaze softened slightly, as though Jack's willingness to confront the past were a fragile seed planted amidst rocky soil. There's one more thing, Matt murmured, his voice low as he reached into his pocket, pulling out a folded piece of paper. Jack's heart raced. His brother extended the letter toward him, their fingers brushing for a brief moment, a spark of untapped connection igniting between them. But another thought hit him hard. What if their father's truths were more complicated than they could bear? What if they unleashed years of deep-seated pain rather than the peace they sought? Taking the paper from Matt's hand, Jack's mind buzzed with possibilities. This was more than just a piece of paper. It was an invitation into the psyche of the man their father had been, a mirror reflecting the choices he had made. He hesitated, the paper trembling gently in his grasp. What if we don't like what we find? He retorted, the weight of unspoken memories crashing back into the forefront of his consciousness. Matt held his gaze steady. We owe it to ourselves to find out. With a quiet resolve demanding to be heard, Jack unfolded the letter, ready to confront not only their father's legacy, but also the shadows lingering in his and Matt's relationship. Within these words could lie truths that might redefine their past and reshape their future. As the edges of the letter opened, all of their shared memories, all of their grievances poured forth, blending with the dark ink sprawled across the faded page. Jack's breathing quickened, anxiety mixing with anticipation, proving he was truly on the precipice of transformation. What secrets awaited him in the letters? The moment of revelation had arrived, and he could only hope that the truth would light the way to a new beginning instead of more darkness. Jack's fingers grazed the paper, the familiar scent of aged ink sending him spiraling back through time. He steadied his breath as he glanced up at Matt, whose expression mirrored the intensity of the moment. With every ounce of courage, he unfolded the letter, feeling the weight of generational expectations resting heavily upon him. The words trembled beneath his gaze, but as he began to read, something within Jack shifted, an ember of understanding that flickered with the possibilities of connection rather than despair. Dear Jack, it began, his father's handwriting shaking yet passionate. If you are reading this, I want you to know that my intentions were always rooted in love, though fear often led me astray. I regret that I didn't provide you with the guidance and attention you deserved, but I want you to know my dreams for you were grander than the mistakes I made. Jack felt a lump in his throat tighten. The fabric of his childhood, the neglect, the emotional distance had always been a source of contention. But to read those words, acknowledging his father's shortcomings, unveiled an understanding he never anticipated. I wish that I could have seen your potential as a designer sooner, the letter continued. I buried my own dreams and couldn't find the words to encourage you to pursue yours. I let my failures overshadow the hope I held for our family. But in truth, my dearest wish was for you to break free from my shadows and live boldly. With each line, Jack's perception began to change. His heart swelled with unexpected compassion for the man he had once resented. The echoes of pain that had once driven a wedge between them began to soften, creating space for healing. The realization dawned on him. He wasn't just reclaiming a legacy. He was on the brink of redefining his own. I left behind more than just a house, the letter continued, but a reminder of what can be rebuilt. Use it as a canvas to craft the family you aspire to have. Allow your son to inspire you. Embrace every creative impulse you possess. Don't let your fears bind you as they did me. You are capable of greatness. Jack's eyes glistened with unshed tears as the weight of his father's words unfurled within him. He could feel the liberation washing over him like cool water. With each sentence he shed years of grievances, laying bare the notion that recognition of past failures could serve as a catalyst for growth. What does it say? Matt asked, his voice low with curiosity and respect. It's everything I needed to hear, Jack replied, his voice shaky yet assured. He saw my potential but didn't know how to express it. This might change everything for us. The bond between the brothers felt tangible, the chasm of resentment narrowing as they shared the moment together. Jack caught Matt's eye, and a deep understanding passed between them, a hint of reconciliation budding softly in the cracks of their past. Perhaps this was a stepping stone to rebuilding their own legacy together. Driven by newfound conviction, Jack thought of Ryan. The echoes of his father's vision intermingled with the vibrancy of his son's creativity. He could already see it, the playful space he envisioned, a blend of art and architecture and family. He had to move beyond not only his father's shadow, but also the doubts that held him back from fulfilling that dream. Let this be our chance to reclaim our legacy. Jack spoke with renewed purpose, his eyes determined. We can honor him by building something wonderful, not just for ourselves but for the next generation, starting with Ryan. Matt nodded slowly, and Jack could tell he too was processing the weight of the letter S message. The two brothers had been grasping for their paths, particularly Jack's journey into creating a nurturing art space. And now they had found a compelling impetus, a shared vision that encompassed both their father's mistakes and aspirations. Intertwined within the fabric of forgiveness was hope, spurring Jack to focus on the next steps. He turned toward Matt, taking a deep breath. "Let us work together then. I want to do this right. Let us resurrect this property into something that mirrors us." With that, their shared commitment solidified. Each brother would tackle their own emotional reconstructions while building a bright future for Ryan filled with art, dreams, and creativity. Together, they would not just recover a legacy but weave a new story, one they would tell with paintbrushes and designs filled with laughter rather than grievances. As they mapped out their plans late into the night, an air of camaraderie filled the room. Jack felt a weight lift off his shoulders, an overwhelming sense of purpose replacing the familiar anxiety. He was forging towards a future defined less by conflict and more by unity and growth. In the weeks that followed, Jack transformed his sketches into blueprints that not only captured his design, but harmonized with Matt's ideas as well. Together, they began approaching funding possibilities and local partnerships to resource their vision. It wasn't easy and moments of doubt still crept in, but each shared insight nudged them closer to success. And most importantly, it fostered a space for Ryan where creativity blossomed and belonging thrived. They crafted workshops filled with light, whispers of laughter, and the colors bursting vividly from each wall. Jack's vision transformed from an individual ambition into a community effort, one that brought the essence of his father's teachings to life. Through every step, each flush of paint, every discussion shared with Matt, Jack discovered the truth of his father's words echoed within him. He was building not just a legacy but a home capable of sheltering dreams, where inspiration thrived against the backdrop of forgiveness. As he stood before the emerging structure, now transformed and alive with color, Jack felt a satisfying rush. He was no longer that uncertain man, burdened by the weight of his father's failures. He had taken the lessons of the past, intertwined them with his own journey, and crafted a meaningful narrative, a true lineage of creativity and courage. In that moment of triumph, bathed in the warm colors of the setting sun, Jack realized an undeniable truth. He had achieved what he thought was impossible. He had not just reclaimed a home. He had transformed his life, renewed his bond with Matt, and ultimately, embraced the role of father with full conviction. This journey became a testimony of tenacity, a testament that there is profound potential within reconciliation and rediscovery. The space ahead now flourished with not just creativity, but hope, a legacy that would thrive for generations to come. The journey was no longer about living in a shadow. It was about celebrating the light that comes when we choose to build anew. Now, to all of you watching this story unfold, I urge you, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these journeys alive. Comment below your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative conclusion. You need to subscribe now, as this is the moment to show your support for stories of overcoming challenges. Don't wait even one more second to share. Real fans of personal transformation understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.